I think most of our steering committee members, I don't see any of them here quite yet today, but I know a couple of them are busy and unable to make it. But we have Ina P. Montgomery, the founder and director of Urban Tech, Aaron Deacon, founder and managing director at KC Digital Drive, and then, of course, Carrie Coogan, deputy director at the Kansas City Public Library. And the coalition, we've been kind of quiet on some of these channels, but we're trying to up our game a little bit. You can definitely always find our meeting recordings on our YouTube channel, which is listed last here. And then we also have a brand new website. Well, I guess it's a couple of months old now, but a new website with some interactive features. I encourage you, if you haven't already, to go check that out. And then we, of course, have X and Facebook.
Wendy, not to interrupt you, but we don't see, if you have the slides, we don't see them up right now.
Oh my gosh. Thank you.
Yeah.
Now can you?
Yeah.
Yep, thank you.
Wonderful. Well, I'll just let you know that those slides were all the slides that we usually have.
We were visualizing them.
Okay. And now I'm going to switch over to our agenda. You see the agenda now?
Yes.
Excellent. Okay. So I also forgot to introduce myself. I'm Wendy Pearson, Strategic Initiatives Manager over at the Kansas City Public Library. And I'd like to, before we get started, we, as you can see, moved our agenda items around from where they typically are every month. We wanted to be able to accommodate the schedules of some of our speakers today. But before we jump into our featured presentation, I do want to take a moment and acknowledge our new members or any first-time attendees. So to anyone that's signed on with us today, are you here for the first time? If so, go ahead and just tell us your name and your organization and about the work that you do over there. Do we have any new attendees today?
Hi, yes. So my name is Stacia Hardyway, first-time attendee. I have watched some of your previous recordings though, which that YouTube channel is super helpful. Thank you. I am the Community Impact and Grants Manager with the Kansas City's PCs for People location. We take e-recycling, so all of your technological needs, your computers, your printers, anything like that, we accept those donations or we'll pick them up for free. We also have a distribution side. We can do online sales or we have an in-store option for individuals, families, and nonprofits that are low or no income utilizing another form of government assistance. We provide laptops, desktops ranging in price from $50 to $150, as well as hotspots for mobile internet service ranging from $20 to $60 for the device and $15 to $16 a month for service.
Thank you very much. We're very glad to have you and look forward to working with you. I was actually just talking with my team yesterday about refurbished and affordable devices in our region. So it's really great to hear from you. Do we have any other new attendees today? All right. In that case, let's go ahead and move on to our featured presentation. So today we're going to be focusing on the delivery of essential services, which is really all of the stuff that we kind of do on a daily basis anymore, like paying our bills, checking our utilities, let's see, looking up basic information like childcare services, parks and rec services, food, agriculture, tourism, public works, public service announcements. So just all of that stuff that's really a part of our daily lives. And we have a few people here to talk to us about the intersection of digital inclusion and, providing these services. And first up today, we have Julie Riddle. Julie is the Community Development Field Specialist at the University of Missouri's Extension and Engagement. And I believe You have screen sharing capabilities, so go ahead and take it away, Julie.
Well, Lindsay's going to lead the presentation, I believe. So is that
Yeah,
true?
Julie and I are teaming up, not for the first time, right, Julie?
That's right.
I'm Lindsay Tarasovic. I work for the University of Missouri Extension, where I'm an extension and engagement specialist. And Julie and I have worked together for many years. We previously co-coordinated the volunteer income tax assistance program together. And so we were just going to visit with you a little bit about extension and kind of what extension does overall. And then looking specifically at the example of the tax program and, kind of talking about the digital divide. So let me share my slides really quickly. I think whoever is sharing might have to hit stop share. Oh, there we go. Okay, are you guys seeing my notes slide or the main slide? Tom, do you see the main slide?
Yep, the main slide. You're good to go.
Okay. So we only have about 5 minutes or so to kind of give this summary about extension and talk about the example of the tax program. And so I cut down an existing presentation for that. So I'm hoping that we do in fact fit in that 5 minutes. But the University of Missouri Extension provides community education and outreach services. That's our primary directive. We are part of the larger University of Missouri system, which includes several campuses around the state. Extension offers classes, publications, consultations, and services like soil testing. So for those of you who have visited our offices, that will be familiar to you. Extension programs focused on several areas. The first of which is agriculture and environment. That is the oldest branch of what we do. We also have business and community development, which is the arm that Julie's program is nested under, health and human sciences, and health and safety. Our faculty, staff, volunteers, and community partners work together to implement the programs. So we are sometimes referred to as an extension cooperative. And that really is an important concept in understanding kind of how we deliver our services. So extension programs are available in 114 counties in Missouri and the city of St. Louis. We have offices in each county across the state. Kansas City is part of the Urban West region, which includes Clay, Jackson, and Platte County. And in this picture, this is a picture of our faculty and staff doing a service project with one of our partners, Truman Habitat for Humanity and Independence, in 2023. So it's a couple years old, but I actually really love this picture because everybody's smiling and having a good time. So 5 things to know about MU Extension. So one of the first things is we are not new. The University of Missouri was established in 1839 and the Extension Service was created in 1914. So we've been serving the people of Missouri for more than 100 years. We have useful information, so check out our website for classes or publications on topics such as gardening, food preservation, and other really interesting topics. Our programs are available in person and online. And they're free or low cost, and that's really important. So Extension was established so that people would have access to university resources. And so if you go on our website, you can download many of our publications for free. So funding and other resources can vary year to year. And so, some classes may have a small fee to cover supplies and things like that. But for the most part, we try to offer what we do for free. And the other thing that's important to know about Extension is that we need you. So community support is the most valuable resource that Extension has. And a lot of our programs wouldn't happen without that cooperative effort that I described earlier. So with regard to the digital divide, just a general overview, historically, Extension has been the local public resource. And so folks could stop by the office in their county to ask a question or pick up information about a topic they're interested in, like gardening, for example. So you could also sign up to take a class, you know, if you were there in the office, and people can still do that, but more and more our interactions are online. So if a person has access to a computer or a phone and the internet, then they can see what we offer on our website. You can look through the library of free publications that I talked about. Register for a class or send a message to a field specialist if you have a question about something. However, to do those things, you would have to be equipped with the ability to navigate our website and use the search function. You'd have to have email and know how to use it. And so for people that don't have access to a computer or phone or the internet, or they, you know, don't have that skill set, that's really can be challenging. And that can also be a barrier for us in terms of promotion. So we offer free or low cost education and consultation to the public, but if people aren't familiar with extension, then a lot of them don't know to look for us. So a partner in the community like United Way 211, for example, might point people in the right direction to connect with us. We can also use QR codes and other things to kind of easily direct people to our website, but that's one of the ongoing challenges. Julie has some really great examples with the tax program, and I'm going to turn it over to her.
Thanks, Lindsay. So just so everybody knows, this is a program that is run and sanctioned by the IRS, Volunteer Income Tax Assistance, typically targeting low and moderate income taxpayers, also people with disabilities, older adults, people with low literacy levels, or who don't speak English as their first language. And VITA was started about 50 years ago by the IRS, honestly, just to increase tax compliance. And for, I would say, most of its life, it's been heavily dependent on face-to-face interactions. And then we had to do a big pivot like everybody else did during COVID. And I just wanted to talk to you about a few examples where I'm seeing a lot of difficulty accessing documents, accessing information about their payroll, a lot of things that make doing taxes either a very easy process or a really, really difficult one. So more and more often, people are using either third-party payroll companies or getting a payroll card from their employer, and that's okay. And a lot of folks bring in their W-2s, you know, on their phones, but we see a lot of difficulty with that when people leave those employers or when they lose or forget their password. It can be very difficult to get back into that, and then all of a sudden they are dependent on maybe an office in another state to help them, you know, access that portal or get them their documents. And we see a lot of difficulty with that. We also work with a lot of seniors who don't necessarily need to file a federal tax return, but they're also eligible for the Missouri property tax credit, which is a rebate on property taxes that have been paid, different from the freeze that just got initiated. And when we file those returns, we typically file them with a federal return, so no one else can file in their name. And we find a lot of those folks have been assigned identity protection pins by the IRS, which means that in the years, and it's not just seniors, it's anybody who hasn't filed for a while, in the years that they haven't been filing, someone has used their Social Security number inappropriately. And lots of times they don't even know it. They don't know, they say they've never gotten anything in the mail, and maybe they haven't, or maybe they just didn't know to look for it. And that keeps us from filing a federal return. And that's important, at least partly because we want people to have access to their tax records, but it also means that someone else is using their tax identity, which could get them in a whole lot of trouble. And so the easiest way to get a replacement or to get your IP pin, identity protection pin, is to sign on to the irs.gov portal with your own unique identifier. And in order to do that, you have to prove who you are. You have to go through the process of verifying your identification with usually ID Me, which takes a combination of email, cell phone, texting knowledge of how to use your phone camera, ability to trust that the sort of alien red and green and blue lights that are flashing in your face are really just what they say they are, which is, like facial scanning. But even also that, sometimes that doesn't work very well with folks who have darker complexions. And so it won't read the scan or look at the driver's license in the correct way, and then people can't get in. And so that's just one like very small example of a tool that's supposed to make life easier for people that actually makes it much, much more difficult. And there's this huge gap in people's understanding and ability to access those records. And in addition to an identity protection pin, that's also how you change your address with the IRS, or make a tax payment, or pull a transcript, or get communication from the IRS. And they're relying on that increasingly because they have fewer staff, or they will have fewer staff than they have had in previous years. So that's just like one small example of how access to technology, ability to interface with platforms and services, access to critical documents, makes something like filing taxes really, really complicated for folks that don't need more complication in their life. And I think I'll leave it at that for right now.
Thank you, Julie. I just have one more slide, maybe, if it'll let me advance it. So the text program, as I said, is nested under one of several program areas that we have. Some other things that the university is working on at a system level is the broadband initiative. And you guys will have heard about the broadband initiative from UMKC Professor Tony Lupino, who's been very involved in both that and UMKC Digital Equity Working Group, which he first established. And then another thing that we are working on that is going to be a tremendous lift, I think, for all of us, is the Title II with Americans Disability Act and the regulations around that. So we have a year to get our online and digital content aligned with those regulations. And so system-wide, the university has a task force and training and resources kind of internally to get our faculty and staff kind of on the right track with that. And so I can send out some more information about our broadband initiative. I know when I spoke with the person who's responsible at the system level for that project, Allison Copeland, she's our Deputy Chief Engagement Officer. We're waiting on an award announcement from the Digital Opportunity Fund, and then we'll kind of go from there. So that's just a brief update on some of the other things we have going on. And that's all I've got. Any questions Julie and I could answer?
Hi, Lindsay. It's Tom Esselman.
Hey, Tom, how's it going?
Good. Good to see you. And you
Good to
too,
see you too.
Julie. I have a question, because this category of essential services, it covers a pretty broad swath, and in particular with regard to organizations that really do focus on a lot of things that could be considered essential services. I know even on this call, we have organizations like Catholic Charities, and we have the City of Kansas City, Missouri, and the Housing Authority. And we were hoping to get someone from the Mid-America Regional Council, Amanda Grayor's area, that heavily focused on digital services, but also Mark does things like, aging services and Meals on Wheels. And I guess my question is, to what extent do you feel like the the extension is connected to other organizations that kind of provide this kind of menu of different services that can be accessed more and more in digital form. Or I guess put a different way, do you feel like there is some collaboration
Oh,
and
yes.
with those organizations, and to what
Yes.
extent, like, can we move in a direction to better take advantage of that collaboration?
Yeah. So, extension, because we have so many different program areas, we're really interconnected with other service providers in the community. So another great example of this is our health and human sciences arm. We do a lot of food and nutrition education and programs. And so some of our staff will help people sign up for food assistance. We also usually have a grant from the USDA to do a program called the Senior Farmers Market, where we get eligible seniors signed up for some vouchers that they could use at farmers market and foods, like farmer stands, to get fresh fruits and vegetables. But like one of the things that came up, I know in the last couple of years, so when this grant first started, you had paper vouchers. You'd sign up for the program and then our staff would give you these paper vouchers. But then they switched and they said, okay, well, now you have to assign people a QR code. And for a lot of people, that was really a challenge. I mean, they wanted to utilize this resource. They wanted to go to the farmers market and use their vouchers, or the Double Up Food Bucks program, which kind of goes alongside that. But it's like they had to have the technology and the know how to do it. And like Julie said, that can be very difficult for some of the people that we serve. We also work with a lot of farmers, a lot of food producers. We work, we have the small business development center on the UMKC campus that works with entrepreneurs. And so we're just plugged in a lot of different ways. And then maybe Julie wants to speak a little bit more to the tax coalition, because the tax program is implemented, with the help of many community partners.
Yeah, thanks, Lindsay. So most of the organizations that host a tax site are nonprofit or educational organizations, and we rely on them a lot for hands-on help, but also access to digital resources. And I mean, I can give a couple of examples of that. When we partnered with PCs for People, we would often partner with their staff on making sure that people could get their documents scanned. They helped us with loaned computers and things like that. We also did some joint classes with them about, like things that you need to do to get ready to prepare your taxes and how to operate within those digital spaces. One of the examples that is a new problem for us is that the city of Kansas City is requiring folks to pay their earnings taxes if they're not being withheld from their paychecks online. And so that's requiring the staff and volunteers at our sites to help people sign up with a digital identity with the city if they don't have one already, and show them how to prepare that city return. And so we do a lot of that. We do a lot of that all the time, but it does feel like we're swimming against the tide a little bit. It feels like the changes are happening faster than a lot of the folks that we serve can keep up.
I also want to add, Julie and I, when we were pivoting during the pandemic, like she said, we came up with a virtual process that enabled our volunteers and our clients who are used to coming to us to continue with their services. And one of the things that particularly highlighted to me was maybe the lack of resources that we have in the community for people who are homebound, so they can't get out and about to do their business and may not have help in place. Or if they do have help, it might be funded by like Medicaid or other programs that rely on this, funding that we're not sure about right now, and also, serving people with disabilities. I think that'll be really important for groups like this as we're thinking about, what kind of resources we want to put into the community. You know, making sure that content is accessible is really important. But like, I know there are some disability service providers that we tried to partner with in the tax program, like the Whole Person, for example. We had a tax site at the Whole Person, and they have an accessible computer lab. So it is set up for people who are deaf or hard of hearing or who have visual impairments. And I think that that's something that all of us should be thinking about in the services that we deliver is, you know, are we reaching everyone, or do we need to take another look at this?
Yeah, two things just in response, and I'm so glad, Julie, you brought up the support that we used to provide over at LAMP. In fact, that was originally with Connecting for Good, and then when we became part of PCs for People, we extended that work. But I suppose it was before there was ever such a thing as digital navigators. And we felt like that was the role we were able to play in terms of this tax service. And since I brought up digital navigators, that whole program that I know the extension was in line to do, which is part of the federal funding, which is now greatly in question. And I'm going to have some updates on this a little bit later. But it's the need for digital navigation support has never been greater. And you talked about, you know, the funding required to do that. And I know with the federal funding at risk, we've got local funding, thank goodness. In this area, I know Adriana and John from Health Forward Foundation are on this call, and they have just implemented the first of what might be, you know, several digital equity related grant programs. And I know T-Mobile Foundation, they have a new set of grants coming out that will have an application deadline coming up this summer. That will provide support for digital navigators. There's a new foundation or a grant-making group that I'm going to be talking about called KC People's Fund, which is going to be opening up some grants in June. And so, well, I can talk later about those grant programs, but what you guys have brought up, and Lindsay, you put a fine point on it. You know, those of us who are tied together in this community of digital inclusion, you know, providers of services, we have to band together stronger than ever right now. Number one, to make sure that the impact of digital support is known, but that we can continue to foster strong relationships with these local supporters who are out here recognizing the needs and continuing to, you know, do whatever we can to get resources in place to help out. So I just wanted to add that, not so much as a question, but just as a reinforcement that what you guys are talking about, I hope it will spark more questions and more greater sense of collaboration among members on this call, not just about the work that needs to be done, but how impactful it is and how local supporters like Health Forward and T-Mobile and others can play a role in at least providing some financial and other assistive resources. So I'm thrilled that you guys are able to join us and share these stories.
Well, and I think as a coalition, we should look at inviting groups if they're not already working with us. So like I was at the United Way event in April. And there at my table, there was a lady there from Alpha Point, which provides services to people who are visually impaired. And I was like, hey, have you heard about the Coalition for Digital Inclusion? Here's how you join. Because I was like, you know, it would be awesome to have that voice and that collaboration in the group.
Nice work. Thanks for the advocacy.
Right, thank you so much. Does anybody else have any comments or questions for our presenters today, Lindsay and Julie?
I just have a couple comments, if that's okay, Wendy. So I think it's great that you invited Lindsay and Julie to speak today. I will readily confess that until I got involved with the System Broadband Initiative in 2019, I had little knowledge of how important extension is across the state, and now I fully get it. And I think Lindsay hit the nail on the head. I mean, digital inclusion is related to so many other needs: affordable housing, assistance to veterans, as Lindsay pointed out, assistance to folks with disabilities. So I just think it's wonderful that these dots are being connected. On the work that we're doing here at UMKC, as so many of you know from the different email I sent, what the UMKC Digital Equity Working Group have been doing will now be channeled through the UM System Broadband Initiative, but we'll still do it, and we're going to do it increasingly with Jackson County Extension is the plan. So a few of you know that I'm retiring from my teaching position here, but I'm going to volunteer and stay involved on the steering committee for the broadband initiative, so I'll still coordinate UMKC folks here. On the tax stuff, just as I put it in the chat, we have a tax clinic that does not overlap at all with the VITA program because it doesn't do current year returns. It deals with audits and tax litigation for low-income taxpayers. And so I put the link in the chat. It's also got federal support, so it's been a great program since 1999. And Lindsay and Julie, thank you for your presentation. Great.
Yep, thank you very much.
Wendy, I wanted to know, I see Miss Williams from the city of Kansas City, Missouri is on the call as well. We were hoping to get Kelly Herman, who runs the city's website for neighborhood services, but I didn't know if she might be willing to just make a couple of comments from the perspective of the city of Kansas City, Missouri, because so many essential services require digital access, and now that we've got her in place working with Jerry and so many of the other resources at the city, I didn't know if she might have any kind of comments or updates from the city on kind of digital inclusion as it relates to delivery of essential services.
Yes, good morning to you all. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, excellent. I was having some volume problems earlier, so great. I'm glad everyone can hear me, and it's good to see everyone on a wonderful Friday morning. Again, my name is Sherelle Tanya Williams. I'm new to this department. I'm not new to the city, but I'm new to this role. Jerry had another meeting that he had to attend, so I'm sitting in this morning, my first meeting by myself, so super excited. I'm excited about this particular role and bridging the gap in the divide that we have in the city to help to assist all of our residents in digital equity. It's very, very important. Top on the list, I would say. Our main focus here, as I've grasped and learned, is the case management device deployment that we are working with and on, along with class instructions and training, basic training for individuals who have no idea what to do with a computer or how to work it, and also to assist in online banking.
We may have lost
Oh, yeah.
the connection.
What are you, a portal skill on livelihood. Also do the survey, as we call boots on the ground, recruitment and survey services, and that's where we design a group of volunteers to go out in several neighborhoods and knock on doors and pull information from those individuals to find out what their needs are. So that's something that I've been a part of since I started. I started working fast at a fast pace when I started this role. So those are some of the things, the three key components that we're working on and planning to extend that all over the city where the need is needed. I can't hear anybody.
Yeah. Thank you
Okay.
so much for that.
I feel like I'm talking, but no one can hear me. But it just could be just on my end. But any questions on that? Anything else? I'm learning. I still am. I'm going to be very honest with you. I've had a chance to visit. I went down to the Garrison Center, which I hear was a huge product to get their computer lab up. And when I was there were quite a few people in the lab utilizing the facilities. And really, I think I met one lady and she said that she never been on a computer ever, and I just wanted to hear her story. She just never had a reason to use a computer. Everything she showed me her checkbook, and I said, well, that's okay if you still want to write checks. That's okay. But nevertheless, she that was her first exposure as far as getting classes and being introduced to the digital world. So I was excited to hear her story, and I'm sure there's more to come.
That's great. Thanks, Cheryl. I appreciate you joining us.
Thank you.
And Cheryl, if you don't mind, I think we lost you a little bit. There was a loose connection somewhere. We lost you.
I know.
You mentioned 3 bullet points, and I think we only caught your third. Would you
Oh,
mind
really?
summarizing your first 2?
No,
Thank
not at
you so
all.
much.
No, I was saying that our 3 bullet points are for the community and reaching out to our residents would be the case management device deployment. That is where we either set up a computer lab or we set individuals up with a device in their home where they can use it and utilize it, whether it be for their children with school or for adult. Again, I was talking about um, having the chance to register on a portal. Nowadays, it seems like you can retrieve a lot of information just by going to your health portal, which is something different for many individuals. They want to get on the phone and call, and sometimes your triage nurse won't reach you that day. So you may be able to find that information on your portal. The second point was class instructions and training. This is to give basic training to individuals, and some are more advanced, but there's a lot that are just not have not been introduced to it at all. So that's very important. And the third one is the recruitment and the survey services, where I've created a form where we'll be using going forward as they're out in the neighborhoods, reaching out to all of our citizens and asking questions and having them to elaborate on their needs.
Thank you so much for going back
Mm-hmm.
over that again.
Oh,
It
no,
really
no.
makes sense to have it all, yeah, all summarized like that. Thank you so much. And it's great to learn
Mm-hmm.
about the city's work in this area too.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Absolutely. It's very exciting.
Yeah. Do we have any more questions for Cheryl today? Or comments? All right. In that case, let's go ahead and move on to our last presenter, our friend over at Link, a very important organization in our region, Joe Robertson. The floor is yours. Take it away.
Yes, yeah. Good morning, everybody. Thank you, Wendy. And yeah, I'm Joe Robertson, and I do communications for Link. And I'm glad to be able to share about Link because honestly, we have been engaged these days in trying to share more about the mission and vision of Link that is broader than most people might realize. And so now I can share my screen, right? Is that
Yes, you should be good to go.
all right? Okay, wait a second. I'm say. What's it? So what do I need to do? I guess it's okay. It wants me to allow it. Oh, I'm sorry, folks. Maybe I won't be able to do this. But how about if I just, this is not working.
Okay. Does it give you some sort of error message or?
It's saying, hold on, let me start over again. When I say share my screen, it, It says open, okay, when I say open system settings, I have to allow it or something. How about if I just talk to you all? I don't, see now for many of the thousands of families and partners we serve and work with, we are best known for our completely free before and after school programming, and for children and families in the Kansas City Public Schools, the Hickman Mills, Grandview, and Center School districts, plus some in North Kansas City and the charter school. But all those 55 caring community sites are really just the anchor for all the many things that Link does. And when Link was founded over 30 years ago, and this was the vision of Kansas City Civic Leader Burt Berkeley, whose picture you see back here over my shoulder. And he died just a year ago at the age of 101. But when it was founded, Link wasn't even in the before and after school field. When Link was founded over 30 years ago, the vision was to be a citizen-driven nonprofit NGO, and that it was run by independent commissioners, visionary people from the community with the mission of helping the bureaucracies and departments in Jefferson City better serve the Kansas City area. That meant building site councils of local citizens, working with businesses, churches, schools, and social service providers and municipal departments to bring the people together to understand the unique strengths, concerns, and needs of each community. Link helped the people in their communities take action, getting quick, creative solutions to their needs, cutting ahead of the state government bureaucracies. Now, so how does Link do this? For starters, it begins with knowing all the good people and the hardworking agencies. Like all of us here, everybody here on this call. I mean, everyone who's already doing the work, lifting up communities. And the key, of course, is listening, bringing people into the organization who are of the community, and being in and part of the community ourselves. That's why we have site councils at caring community sites. It's how our caring community site coordinators and top staff become trusted people who families go to with concerns and joys. And again, it's about truly knowing each certain community's unique concerns and strengths. And then Link brings its expertise to the mission. Because we do know Jefferson City, we work with state leaders, we earn and manage state contracts. State policymakers and lawmakers look to us to be that knowing connection to what their constituents need. We work with the city, we cultivate important partnerships, we rely on our partnerships with organizations like everybody here on this call. Like the VITA, the tax program. We have the free tax program, we've been involved in that. We've been promoting it and trying to help support that. And we also work with the city and setting up some of the clinics for digital inclusion, for utility assistance. And I'll talk more about that here in a second. Because Link can be creative and efficient in getting things done because we make private and public funding work together. And all of this makes the social service system more efficient. And that gives people confidence that the system works for them. The people in the community feel like they have a voice because they do have a voice. And so, as I said, Link is far more than before and after school programming, although all those children and families are, of course, essential to our mission. So here are some of the numbers. I'm just going to go through some of these pretty quick, but we have 7,000 children directly enrolled in our free programs, but we serve all of the families and neighbors of the schools. And so that impacts some 19,000 children and their families. And the Link, we are in the Missouri Work Assistance Program, and under a contract with the state, and each year we help more than 700 parents who are receiving TANF funds get support and break through barriers to get job training, education, career building toward becoming self-efficient. And a lot of that, of course, is digital equity, digital inclusion. Another state program run locally by Link every year helps over 600 teens and young adults who are in the Missouri foster care system or in state custody, and they gain skills and support to transition to independent living. And Link now has a caring community site at the Palestine Senior Citizens Center in East Kansas City that is focused on helping senior citizens live their fullest lives. And we have a caring community site at the Morningstar Youth and Family Life Center at 27th and Prospect that has become a hub of services with Link staff that are trained to help navigate the digital complexities of getting access to rent and utility assistance and many other services. Because, we all here particularly understand that, of course, the difficulties of the digital divide. And I'll say that back in COVID was a perfect example. The federal government made all the ARAP funds. This is utility and rental assistance funds available. There's billions of dollars and there's millions in the Kansas City area. And then it turns out people were not accessing it. And the reason was because of the digital divide. And Link, we specially trained staff, brought them in and brought equipment into Morningstar, and then brought Evergy and Spire and the city water services all in there together. And people could just come in and bring their bills, and we navigated that for them. And then this clinic became a model. The city started setting up their own clinics just like that, because the idea is people just needed to be walked through and helped with that, and then Kansas City became a model for getting that those ARAP funds out. So I think, so I guess I'll wrap up here by just saying that, again, recognizing the people on the panel, Julie and Lindsay, and of course, and Sherelle, Sherelle, and all these people and everyone here, all the work that we do. I think we're all devoted to this work of inclusion, and we're all trying to figure out how we can do this all better together. And I believe we all share, the ambitions that drive Link's work, and that is doing whatever it takes to break through barriers and solve problems. We want to do it in a sustainable, life-changing way. We do this together because we all want everyone to live self-sufficiently with confidence and joy. So thanks again, everyone. Sorry my slides didn't work, but hopefully I got some of the ideas across there. And I'll put a link, the kclink.org is where you can see a lot of this information we got. And on our website, we also have our impact report. So, and that shows a lot of this stuff. And so.
Joe, those are great comments. I don't know if you can see in the chat, Yolanda Robinson has been called out by Megan McNaughton for the work she's done at the Palestine Senior Center, which you talked about, and Lindsay put a comment there about the work that you've been doing at Link with the tax program. And I can just say, just from the time that I've been involved in the coalition meetings, which is coming up on 10 years now, you've been around and been involved. I remember Brent Schondelmeyer was a big piece of the work that we used to do. But I loved your comments, and I know you speak from experience and a lot of passion and a lot of dedication for the work you do. And I just wanted to jump on and say how much I appreciate not only the role that Link plays, but you personally have just been, really, really involved as a participant for all these years. And we benefit as a coalition by having individuals like you that have continued to stick with it and do this great work.
Yeah, I do appreciate the message that everyone's sharing here, that we are stronger together, and there's so much expertise in the city, so much expertise in this call, and we just like to all the opportunities to work with everybody here. And I'm just going to echo the Yolanda Robinson at Palestine. She has been fabulous out there. And and that's another neat thing that Link was able to do, because that was such a big resource for the senior citizen community. And she was able to really bring a lot of energy back to it, and we were able to bring in resources, and their membership is back up. It's gone from like 98 to almost 400 members now back at the Palestine Senior Citizen Center, and they're getting digital inclusion work there. They're getting health screenings. It's just, and they're getting activity, healthful things. It's just good for everybody.
Joe, the Health Forward Foundation is excited to be supporting the work at the Palestine Senior Center. We awarded $30,000 through this last funding opportunity. So we're excited to see what difference our dollars make.
And we will be good stewards, and we really appreciate the support and the confidence.
Thank you so much, Joe. I'm very glad that we've had the opportunity to really hear about Link and the extent of your work, because it is a huge reach and impact on our community for sure. Do we have any more comments or questions for Joe today? All right. See if I can get my screen sharing going again here. We'll just moving along on our agenda. We'll skip over the state broadband office updates. We actually don't have either one of our representatives today. And I know hopefully in the next meeting or the next couple of meetings we'll be able, they have a new director over at the Kansas Office for Broadband Development. Hopefully we'll be able to hear from him and meet him. So skipping over that section, we'll go ahead and move on to updates from Depot KC from Tom Esselman. So take it away, Tom.
Thanks, Wendy. And I think all these comments are a good setup for hopefully for some of the things I'm going to share. The first thing, and I was so happy that Adriana, that you jumped on talking about the involvement of Health Forward Foundation. And I also want to call out Rachel Merlo from Google Fiber. I think she's on the call. And G Fiber has also been a huge supporter of a lot of these digital efforts. And I know through the years we couldn't have done the work that we did with devices and IT support and digital literacy training without all of their support. So in that vein, I have kind of three sections of updates. One is on just some local work going on with respect to new funding opportunities. I think we've brought up in our last meeting, there is an open grant window through T-Mobile. They have their HQ grant program. And there's also a new organization. It's not brand new, but it's got a new announcement about a new funding opportunity, and that's called the KC People's Fund. And that is led primarily by Denise St. Omer formerly from the Community Foundation, but also with some of the Sunderlands and the help of J.E. Dunn as well. And to that point, next Friday at this window between 10:30 and noon, and I will be sending out announcements about this through the coalition and also on LinkedIn. We are going to do a grant writing workshop just to help any of you who know smaller nonprofits who maybe lack the capability or the wherewithal to write grants and to get the steps taken to secure funding. And that's going to be from 10:30 to noon over at the Blueford branch of the Kansas City Public Library. More announcements to come. But the reason we're doing that is because in spite of the delays at the federal level, we're fortunate enough to have local funding opportunities. And we want to make sure that if you lack the ability to write grants, that won't be an impediment to getting after some of these funds. So that's the first thing I wanted to share. The second thing is really, why is it relevant for all of you on this call to know what's happening at a federal level? So there's two things I wanted to share with you. We've talked in the past about this group that I know I'm a member of, and hopefully some of the rest of you can get involved as well. I know Carrie Coogan from the library is a board member, and it's called SHLB, SHLB.org, Schools, Hospitals, Libraries, or Schools Healthcare Libraries Broadband Coalition. We had a congressional fly-in in April, and there are a lot of links that show updates to that. But I think the group of us had a total of over 70 meetings with different lawmakers talking about the need to preserve the Universal Service Fund. And I think the more you reach out to groups like Shelby, you can learn what we can do on a local level to keep doing what we can to preserve whatever funding can and should be available from the federal level. We know a lot of that is at risk. And so the second point of it is that the group that controls a lot of that federal grant funding was called the NTIA, and they have a new director who is waiting to be finally confirmed and to start her role. Her name's Ariel Roth, likely to happen sometime before the end of the month of May. But the things we've talked about in the last year, the NTIA's competitive grant and then how that flows down to the state's capacity grants, it looks pretty clearly like that funding, officially it's on pause, but I think unofficially it's likely to not materialize at all. We will know, I think, more certainly this time next month than what we do right now, but I just want to call it to your attention because a lot of what's going to determine the future of that funding is going to be decided this upcoming month. We suspect that the biggest bulk of the federal money, which is referred to as BEAD, that's a broadband expansion and deployment, that's infrastructure money. We think that money is going to be preserved, but how and exactly with whom it gets spent to build out networks is still a little bit unclear. But bringing it back to kind of the coalition level, the next thing that I wanted to update you on is coming up in May, the 20th through the 22nd, is the National Digital Inclusion Alliance. They have their annual conference. It's called Net Inclusion. It's taking place at the Gila Reservation, which is just outside of Phoenix. And again, looking at Joe and Ina and so many of you who have been involved in the coalition work for many years, the NDIA actually started back in 2016, 2015, 16, depending on how you look at it, in Kansas City, or as a result of meetings that were put together by this very coalition. And so I think it's important for you all to know. I know I'm going to be at the conference, and the messaging that comes out of that conference, I think, is going to go a long way toward helping us as a coalition. And you've heard some great words from Lindsay and Joe and others here about the importance of the coalition, but how we continue to message our work during this time when we're being told that things like covered populations and DEI and words like equity, which are part of Depot KC's name, have to be eliminated to be considered appropriate by this new federal government administration. How are we going to let that affect the work that we do day in and day out? And how can we find motivation by working with each other and with local supporters like Health Forward and Google Fiber and others at a time when we're getting less and less direct support from the federal government? So I also, in that light, wanted to refer to something that Wendy just mentioned. There is a new director of the Office of Broadband Development in the state of Kansas. His name's Bill Abston. We've tried to get him to appear for this meeting, but we haven't heard back from him. One thing I can tell you, because I got to spend time with the previous director, Jade Piros de Cavallo, at a conference I was at last week, and she doesn't know a lot of intimate details, but she does know that Bill Abston has come into this role without a lot of knowledge about things like coalitions and digital inclusion work. He knows a lot about networks and infrastructure. And we also know that our previous colleague from Kansas, Kimberlyn Jones, is no longer working at the state of Kansas, which means that there is a vacancy. I don't even know if there's a job opening for a dedicated individual to digital inclusion work at the state of Kansas. Why am I bringing that up? Because a group like ours, and any of you on this call, any of you who know any state representatives in Topeka, and similarly, I know we've gotten to know JR or Dimitri Farthing in Jeff City, but we know we haven't been getting many updates from the state of Missouri. So we meaning those of us who work locally, doing the kinds of things that Lindsay and Julie and Joe have been describing, and all the great work that Tony Lupino has shared with us, we have an opportunity, some would say an obligation. I'll let each individual make that call, but we have an opportunity, to the extent anyone who has a voice in state governments, to continue to share and showcase the impact of this work. And I think each of our monthly meetings has showcased how impactful this work is. And as I prepare myself to go to this national conference, which really is kind of a showcase for coalitions across the country, I just wanted to share the message with you all that I get tremendous motivation myself personally just by being around you and hearing these stories and knowing that we can and will continue to do this work regardless of what the federal government administrations are doing or saying. And so to the extent you can use that in your own sense of sharing, not just among your staff members and colleagues, but with any organizations you partner with, and to the extent we can have a voice and influence with our state governments, that's really, really going to be more and more important now that we're getting a clearer sense that this federal administration is kind of taking, the polite way to say it is taking a hands-off approach to digital inclusion work. So let's take up arms and work with each other to make the local and state efforts stronger than ever. And that would be my update. So thank you, Wendy.
Yeah, thank you so much, Tom. You really covered a lot. And for everyone, we'll be able to capture everything in the chat. And of course, this meeting is being recorded, and we'll include everything in the follow-up newsletter that will come out later next week. But meantime, of course, be sure to get some connections from the chat and such so that you can follow up with some people today if you're interested. And let me share my screen, I think, one last time. And we are on our final agenda item for today, which is really just opening up the floor to you to see if there are any events or announcements, special news on behalf of your organization that you'd like to share. Are there any announcements today?
I put one in the chat. Several of you, I think, have attended one or more of these in the past. We're having the 10th Midwest Symposium on Social Entrepreneurship, co-hosted by UMKC and the Kauffman Foundation. I put the link there, and there's 3 really interesting tracks this year, and some of you assisted in getting us speakers. So, it's the information's there. I can provide more information, and so please feel free to reach out.
Wendy, I wanted to call out Anna Stewart from Della Lamb. I think she's on the call. They have just opened a brand new computer lab, which is pretty amazing, over in Northeast. And Anna, sorry to put you on the spot, but I wanted to make sure I think you previously introduced yourself to this group, but I just got so psyched up when I came over and saw your computer lab. I just didn't know if maybe you had a quick update that you could share with the group.
I think Anna might be away or muted. We can circle back.
Well, anyway, Della Lamb, if you're not familiar with it, they do great work with the immigrant and refugee population over in Northeast Kansas City. They have an amazing new computer lab. And it was a lot of the devices were primarily funded by individual donors who, upon hearing about a lot of the cuts, federal funding cuts for immigration and refugee services, just said, what can I do to help? And they chose to use the funding to get some computers. And I was able to use a part of a gift grant that I got from Health Forward Foundation to help make sure they got mice and mouse pads and a printer and some other things that they needed. So that was great to see. And this looks like an announcement. Oh, from the Fed.
Yeah, hi. Thanks, Tom.
Teresa,
And
yeah.
yeah, you made the point earlier about making sure that we keep the topic front of mind, especially from our respective areas. And this is just something I wanted to share with everyone on the call. We are planning the Digital Access Research Forum September 16th through the 18th. So thank you for opening the chat. The link to our site is located in the chat thread. Basically, we're going to have the first day, which will be a Tuesday, would be a little bit more like practitioner focused. And then the next 2 days would be more of that research forum kind of focus. And so on this call, we have several individuals that are giving their time to share information from an advisory standpoint. So thank you so much for your time and sharing your talents. We are in the process of drafting the agenda and then circling back with our advisory group on inputs and feedback. But probably in about 2 weeks, we'll actually open the registration. So more to come. Just keep this top of mind. And open to any questions if needed.
Thank you very much for that update and sharing that event. And we'll be sure to get all these details in our newsletter. Anybody else have anything to share? All right.
I put it in the chat. I was trying to get the contact info for Cheryl.
Yeah, I was actually looking at our list and I don't have you on there, Cheryl. If you wouldn't mind sharing your contact information with the group, we would really appreciate it. And we could even, of course, add you to the coalition's list to be sure you get the agenda and the meeting invites and all of that stuff directly.
Perfect. I can definitely put that in the chat.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem.
All right. And last call for any announcements. All right. So we are going to be ending maybe a record amount of time early today, which is, I guess you're welcome. You get about 20 minutes of your time back. And we are going to be meeting again. Our next meeting is June 6th. And we're still working on our topics for that meeting. But if you have any questions or would like to be a future presenter, of course, reach out to me. And otherwise, have a wonderful weekend. Thank you all very much.
You.
Thanks, Wendy.
Thank you.
Thank you.